I think what made QR stand out was that it felt far more tangible, more useful, more direct impacting than just making slides. It felt like a role and a consultancy where I could actually have a real direct impact in what I was working on, actually really being at the coalface, making a difference. The other thing I think was during the application process, just how smooth and quick and friendly everyone was. I wasn't being ghosted or held around. It was very much, as soon as I applied, like, here's the thing, here's the interview, and that felt really actually gave a really good impression of the kind of place QR is, where things happen, you're looked after, there's a responsive, friendly culture that I also really enjoyed. 3 words to describe QR: friendly, collaborative, eventful. It's probably easy to describe a typical week because a typical day can be more or less anything. So the typical week, it's a combination of meetings with clients to understand their requirements, their needs, often, especially early on in the project, a lot of interviewing clients to understand the situation, understand the challenges they face, and then as you kind of move through the project, more time's taken up developing those solutions, analysing data, and then presenting that back. There's some slides, there's talks, try and bring people on board, but not just present, here's what I made, but also more working alongside people, actually collaborating with them, helping them run the new process, helping them really understand what has been made. And there's also a fair amount of there's governance meetings to make sure the project is on the right track. If you're managing a project, you want to keep an eye on the project plan and the performance and tasks of the people you're working with. And then also, most weeks, there's some involvement, some other non-project work, be it through the various business culture work streams you can get involved with, or supporting on the wider materials and activities of the consulting team. I think the way it makes tangible impact varies on the project, but sometimes it is projects where you're directly speeding up their processes, you're directly helping manage and push through items through their flows, actually to get stuff done quicker. Other times it's completely redesigning these processes, but then also making sure those processes get embedded. It's not just a slide saying this is how you do it, but actually really making sure it gets embedded and the change happens and really the impact of that is felt by the client. What I really enjoy about QR, and possibly my favourite thing about it, is that everyone, you feel, I'm not going to say family, because a lot of people say that, but actually you feel really close to people. You work together, you hang out together if you're staying away together, and it's collaborative, friendly competition, and it's a really place where you feel you can ask for help from people both similar level to you, but also ask for time from more senior people as well. So that real collegiate, collaborative, friendly atmosphere is something I really enjoy here. Friendly, intelligent, cooperative, although a little bit competitive, but usually in a fun sort of way. And people who really want to make things happen, but also want to be good, decent people about doing it. So I'm involved in the corporate social responsibility team, who organise things like volunteering and charitable fundraising. In particular, I'm part of the pro bono team, trying to set up projects, short projects where we have extra resource, can help support charitable and not-for-profit clients for free in order to help them better achieve their charitable goals. So we have an impact beyond just kind of the corporate world. Fairly steep. The first few weeks is training, you learn the fundamental principles and concepts, and then you get thrown to your first project and you realise it's a whole new world out there. So it was at first quite daunting, exciting. I quite enjoyed that. I was not, on a grad scheme for the first year. It was almost immediately into the thrust of it. But the people around me really supportive, the people on my project, and by doing, you learn a lot very quickly. That was really exciting, and kind of responsibility it has put on me fairly early on in my career has been at times daunting, but also exciting and really helped me grow and develop as a person. I think the most important skill I've learned is that whatever you're doing, be it in work or even outside of work, you need to think about what the purpose of it is. What are you trying to achieve by what you're doing? And when you realise to step back and dig into that, actually what you're doing and how you do it, and whether even what you're doing is the right thing, suddenly becomes a whole lot clearer and makes what can be very confusing, chaotic situations seem far clearer and crisper on the course of action you need to take. I think the most important skills at QR, and that's kind of the heart of the interview process, is you need a combination of both data and people skills. So you need to be able to look at the data, understand the data, do the calculations. But you also need to be able to work alongside people, understand how to collaborate and communicate, and then to bring this together. So how's the insights you get from the data, how does that then apply to the people you're working with, and how does that insight actually then correspond to action for those people, not just some nice graphs to look at. My first bit of advice to someone thinking about applying to QR is do apply. It's great here. The other advice I'd have is stop and carefully read what you're being asked to look at and think carefully what the purpose, what the task is, and then how can I use the data and the numbers that are presented to me or that I could try and get from elsewhere to then answer that task.